goes with me to church. We've just always been in church. But about the age of 12 was when I officially came to know Christ and was baptized. Man by the name of Dan Parker over at Fortified Hills Baptist Church, he baptized me, but the gentleman who had probably more influence over the decision was Larry Kendrick, who was the associate pastor. Some of you may know the Kendrick name because his two boys, Alex and Stephen, they've written some movies and some books and things, and they're pretty popular among the Christian cinema space. But he had a gift for storytelling to the point where he would take the Bible and make the Bible real. And up until that point, for me, Bible was the Bible stories. And you see the cartoons that they make for the kids to kind of, give it a child's aspect, if you will. And Larry was one of the first people who talked about the Bible like it was real and basically brought some of what was in the Bible that I had learned earlier into a different light. And I needed to make that decision. So I made that decision. 12 years old, baptized. We moved from Fortified Hills over to Mount Harmony. Some of you were with us there at Mount Harmony when we were there. And that's where kind of my first maturing or my growth happened at that point, because the youth group that was there and the youth minister that was there had come from family that we knew by the man by the name of David Fox. And he was a different influence on my life than I had at that point, because I had my grandfathers and my father, and those were the men in my life at that point, and go to church, be part of church. David was the first who kind of, for me, showed me that there was more to going to church, and there was something that you could actively do aside from just being a Christian, that the ministry had a space for me. And so at that point, I started working with the children and the youth, and we've never stopped. We've always been a part of the children's group or the youth group at pretty much every church we've ever been at, kind of because of his influence. Since that point, we'd moved from other churches. We were out at Burnt Hickory before we found our way here. But for me, as far as not really having a defining moment of there's huge amounts of sin and then there's a complete change and there's a completely different life, my life has always pretty much just been fighting the sin off, because I've always kind of been here in the church. And so I look at things like the maturing aspect of it instead of the turning aspect of it, because like I said, vanilla, I never did drugs. I never drank. We didn't get in a lot of trouble. I met my wife at an early age. We've been lovely married ever since. Never got into any trouble in that particular department other than maybe getting in trouble with her. I've had my family, my side of the family, and then, her family has been my second family, my second mom and dad for more than half of my life now, also in church. My father's a deacon at his church. My father-in-law is, he's a elder at his church. And so that's always been kind of the standard for me. And so it's just one of those things where I'm coming from there to try and push back whatever darkness. And darkness happens, especially when you're in that position. This morning, we were at our house. We live 30 minutes away. We were at our house leaving when we were supposed to be here. And the thoughts in my head were, I'm going to be ordained today, and I can't even get my family to church. It's like that, and that's what we have to fight. But with Jesus on our side, with God on our side, that's exactly what we do. Even if we're late, you still come, you still show up. And it goes to one of my favorite verses in the Bible is John chapter 2, verse 5. That's just before Jesus performed his first miracle. And the Bible verse is Jesus' mother telling the servants, go do whatever it is he tells you to do. And that's a pretty big deciding factor in just about everything I do. Is this what Jesus is telling me to do? And if you use that as your guide and as your gauge, and then whatever you do to his glory, then the blessings will come. And then you have to stand up on a stage and receive this type of love from your church with gratitude. Thank you very much.
Ed Holmes.
My name is Edward Holmes, and most people call me Ed. I was raised in the Union community, and I am one of 14 siblings.